Ladies and gentlemen, as you step into 2026, I want you to hear this clearly. Not everyone needs to know your plans, your progress, or your pain. Some seasons are not for explanation, they are for elevation. This is a year where focus becomes your advantage and silence becomes your strength. Too many people talk themselves out of destiny by announcing every move too soon. They broadcast dreams that are still fragile, decisions that are still forming, healing that hasn't yet settled. But there is power in privacy. There is wisdom in restraint. Seeds grow best underground, away from applause and interference. Focus on yourself, not in arrogance, but in alignment. Stop running your life through the opinions of people who don't carry your assignment. When you focus, distractions lose their grip. When you focus, comparison fades. When you focus, you stop bleeding energy into places that never planned to nourish you back. Silence does not mean weakness. Silence means you are listening to your spirit, to clarity, to instruction. Some battles are won because you didn't respond. Some breakthroughs arrive because you didn't explain. Silence shuts down confusion and sharpens conviction. In 2026, protect your mornings, protect your mind, protect your momentum. You don't need to argue with doubters. Let consistency be your response. Let discipline be your voice. Let results speak where words once tried and failed. The more focused you become, the fewer people will understand you. That's not rejection. That's refinement. Elevation always requires separation. The higher you go, the lighter you must travel. Release the need to be seen. Release the pressure to be validated. What is meant to manifest will announce itself in time. Stay silent while you build systems. Stay silent while you heal old wounds. Stay silent while you study sacrifice and strengthen. Noise will try to bait you into reaction. Growth demands intention. Guard your vision like it's sacred, because it is. Silence is often misunderstood. Many believe that silence means weakness, fear, or a lack of confidence. But in reality, silence is one of the most powerful strategies a person can employ when they are serious about growth, transformation, and elevation. Silence is not empty, it is intentional. It is not passive, it is calculated. Silence is the space where clarity is born, strength is refined, and destiny is quietly assembled. In a world addicted to noise, explanation, and constant reaction, choosing silence is a radical act of self-mastery. Everyone feels pressured to respond, to defend, to announce, and to prove. Social platforms reward visibility, arguments reward reactions, and opinions demand acknowledgement. But wisdom understands something deeper. Not everything deserves your voice. Not every moment is meant for expression. Some seasons demand observation rather than conversation. Silence gives you the upper hand. When you speak too quickly, you reveal too much. You expose emotions that are still raw and ideas that are still forming. Silence, on the other hand, allows thought to mature. It keeps your intentions protected while your plans develop in the background. What is unfinished should not be explained. What is fragile should not be exposed. Silence guards potential from unnecessary interference. There are battles you lose the moment you open your mouth. Arguments drain energy that could have been invested in progress. Defending yourself against people who have already decided not to understand you is a waste of strength. Silence refuses to participate in circular conflict. It denies chaos the satisfaction of engagement. When you remain silent, you choose peace over pride and direction over distraction. Silence is not about avoiding truth. It is about choosing the right timing. Timing is everything. A word spoken too early can sabotage what patience would have perfected. A decision announced before it is fully executed can attract doubt, envy, or discouragement. Silence buys time, time to think, time to prepare, time to strengthen. What you unveil after preparation carries authority. What you reveal prematurely invites opposition. In moments of emotional pressure, silence becomes an anchor. Strong emotions can cloud judgment and distort perception. When anger speaks, regret often follows. When fear speaks, opportunities are abandoned. Silence gives emotions time to settle so wisdom can rise. It allows you to respond instead of react. Reaction is impulsive. Response is intentional, and silence is what creates the gap between the two. Silence also sharpens discernment. When you stop talking, you start noticing. You hear what people actually say instead of what they want you to hear. You observe patterns instead of promises. Silence reveals motives that words attempt to conceal. Those who talk too much miss vital signals. Those who listen gather leverage. The quiet person often knows more than the loudest voice in the room. Growth requires periods of isolation, and silence is the language of growth. Every significant transformation happens away from applause. Muscles grow in rest, ideas grow in solitude, and character grows in unseen moments of discipline. Silence supports this process by removing external pressure. When no one is watching, you can build without performing. You can fail privately, learn quietly, and rise without explanation. Silence also strengthens inner authority. When you stop outsourcing your decisions to opinions, you reconnect with your own conviction. Too many people speak because they are seeking validation, agreement, or reassurance. Silence breaks that dependency, trains you to trust your judgment, refine your values, and operate from inner alignment rather than external approval. Confidence grows when self-trust replaces constant explanation. There is also protection in silence. Not everyone needs access to your thoughts, your dreams, your healing process. Some people listen not to support, but to sabotage. Some clap publicly and compete privately. Silence limits access. It creates boundaries without confrontation. You don't need to announce distance. Silence naturally enforces it. The less people know, the less they can interfere. Silence becomes especially powerful during seasons of preparation. While others are distracted by comparison and conversation, you are accumulating knowledge, discipline, and strength. While others talk about what they want to do, you are silently doing the work. Over time, results create shock because people never saw it coming. Silence turns progress into surprise, and surprise commands attention. When success arrives, silence will have proven its value. You won't need to explain how it happened or justify why you change. The work will speak for you. Consistency will answer questions that debate never could. Silence ensures that when you finally speak, your voice carries weight. Words backed by experience have authority. Words backed by emotion only echo briefly. Silence is also healing. Pain does not always need an audience. Some wounds require privacy to close properly. Talking too soon can reopen what was trying to heal. Silence allows reflection without performance. It gives you permission to process without pressure. In quiet spaces, understanding emerges, forgiveness forms, and strength quietly returns. This does not mean you never speak or never express yourself. Silence is strategic, not permanent. It is used with discernment. When it is time to speak, you speak with clarity, not confusion, with purpose, not impulse, with truth, not defense. Silence prepares your voice before it releases it. Ultimately, silence is not about hiding. It is about building. It is not about fear. It is about focus. It is not about avoidance. It is about intention. Silence removes you from chaos and positions you for clarity. It preserves energy for what truly matters. In a noisy world, silence becomes a competitive advantage. While others announce, you execute. While others explain, you evolve. While others react, you rise. Silence is strategy, and those who master it rarely need to announce their power. Focus is not merely a mindset, it is a force. When properly directed, compresses time, multiplies effort, and transforms ordinary discipline into extraordinary progress. Many people mistake movement for momentum, activity for achievement, and business for growth. But acceleration, the kind that truly changes life, comes from focus. When focus is present, progress no longer crawls, it surges. Focus creates acceleration because it removes friction, eliminates distraction, and channels energy into a single, stoppable direction. Distraction is the hidden tax on potential. Every time attention is divided, progress slows. Each unnecessary commitment drains energy. Each comparison fractures confidence, and each reaction pulls you further away from purpose. Focus, however, simplifies. It narrows your field of vision so that what matters becomes unmistakably clear. When your life is aligned around fewer priorities, your efforts gain intensity. Intensity sustained over time produces acceleration. Focus begins with clarity. You cannot accelerate towards something you have not clearly defined. Vagueness breeds delay. Confusion creates hesitation. But when the goal is clear, decisions become easier. You stop negotiating with doubt and start moving with intention. Focus gives you a target, and once the target is established, every action aligns itself with that direction. Alignment removes resistance, and resistance is what slows movement. Acceleration is not about doing more. It is about doing less, better. Focus teaches you to eliminate what is unnecessary so you can amplify what is essential. Many people exhaust themselves trying to manage everything at once. They scatter their strength across too many directions and then wonder why they are not advancing. Focus gathers scattered energy and turns it into momentum. What once felt heavy becomes manageable when attention is disciplined. When focus is sustained, effort compounds. Small, consistent actions repeated daily gain speed over time. This is the secret behind sudden breakthroughs that appear effortless from the outside. What looks like overnight success is often the result of quiet focus maintained for months or years. Acceleration happens when discipline is uninterrupted. Focus protects that discipline from interruption. Focus also sharpens decision-making. When you know what you are building, distractions lose their persuasive power. Opportunities that don't align no longer tempt you. Opinions that once confused you lose influence. Focus acts as a filter, screening out what doesn't serve the mission. Without this filter, people waste time pursuing what looks good but leads nowhere. Focus creates acceleration by preventing detours. There is speed and simplicity. Focus strips life down to what matters most. It removes clutter from your schedule and noise from your mind. Mental clutter slows progress just as much as physical obstacles. When your mind is overwhelmed, execution falters. Focus calms the mental environment, allowing ideas to flow into action. Calm execution is faster than chaotic effort. Focus also builds mastery. Acceleration increases when skill improves, and skill improves through repetition. When you focus on one area long enough, you develop competence. Competence grows into confidence, and confidence reduces hesitation. Hesitation slows movement. Mastery accelerates it. Focused repetition creates efficiency, and efficiency increases speed. When focus is present, energy is preserved. Distraction is exhausting. Constantly switching tasks drains mental and emotional strength. Work, however, creates rhythm. Rhythm reduces fatigue because the mind operates within a single flow. This conserved energy can then be invested into deeper work, greater precision, longer endurance. Acceleration depends on endurance as much as intensity. Focus also reshapes identity. You begin to see yourself as someone who finishes, someone who starts and stops. This self-perception reinforces discipline. When identity aligns with action, acceleration becomes natural. You no longer need motivation to move forward. Focus has already decided the direction. Momentum becomes habitual rather than forced. One of the greatest accelerators of focus is saying no. Every no protects a yes. Focus teaches you that every commitment has a cost. Time spent on distractions cannot be recovered. When you respect your time, you protect your pace. Focused individuals are not cold or detached. They are intentional. They understand that speed toward purpose requires boundaries. Focus also deepens learning. When attention is undivided, understanding increases. You grasp concepts faster, apply lessons sooner, and adjust strategies quickly. This agility creates acceleration. Those who lack focus repeat mistakes because they never pause long enough to learn. Focus allows reflection to enhance execution instead of interrupting it. Acceleration does not always feel fast in the beginning. Focus can feel slow at first because it requires restraint. You must resist distractions, delay gratification, and ignore applause. But over time, focus builds an internal engine that carries you forward with increasing speed. What once required effort becomes instinctive. This is how acceleration truly works. It starts slowly and then becomes unstoppable. Focus also trains emotional discipline. Emotions can slow progress when they control decisions. Focus keeps emotions aligned with purpose rather than impulse. It prevents temporary feelings from derailing long-term goals. Stability fuels speed. When emotions are managed, execution is uninterrupted. Ultimately, focus creates acceleration because it honors direction over distraction, consistency over chaos, and depth over noise. It allows you to build momentum that compounds. Focus does not make life smaller, it makes results larger. It transforms effort into progress and progress into movement with speed. When focus leads, acceleration follows. Time no longer feels like an enemy. Progress stops being random. Life begins to move forward with intention, and once acceleration begins, it becomes difficult to stop because focus has already decided where you are going. Potential is fragile before it is finished. In its earliest stages, growth requires protection, space, and patience. Privacy is the shield that allows potential to form without pressure, mature without interference, and strengthen without unnecessary exposure. In a world that constantly demands disclosure, explanation, and visibility, choosing privacy is an intentional act of wisdom. Privacy is not secrecy rooted in fear. It is strategy rooted in understanding. Everything that eventually stands strong begins unseen. Foundations are laid below ground. Seeds break open in darkness. Muscles grow in rest. In the same way, human potential develops best away from constant observation. When everything is exposed too early, it becomes vulnerable to disruption. Opinions interrupt progress. Expectations distort process. Privacy protects your potential by allowing growth to occur naturally without the weight of external judgment. Potential is not meant to be defended. It is meant to be developed. When you announce something before it is ready, you become responsible not only for the work, but also for managing reactions. That mental burden drains energy that should be invested in execution. Privacy removes that burden. It gives you permission to focus fully on growth rather than performance. You no longer feel pressure to impress. You are free to improve. Privacy also protects clarity. Early ideas are often raw and undefined. They need time to be shaped through trial, error, and refinement. When those ideas are exposed too early, they become vulnerable to confusion. External voices add noise before the vision is fully formed. Privacy keeps the signal clear. It allows you to hear your own thoughts, test your plans, and adjust direction without conflicting input. There is also emotional protection in privacy. Growth often involves failure, insecurity, and self-doubt. These moments are temporary but necessary. When exposed publicly, they can feel permanent and humiliating. Privacy creates a safe environment where you can fail without being labeled. It allows mistakes to be lessons instead of identities. Potential thrives where learning is permitted without shame. Privacy sets boundaries around access. Everyone is entitled to your process. Some people are only interested in outcomes, not effort. Others observe with comparison, envy, or hidden competition. Privacy limits who can comment, critique, or interfere. It keeps your progress from becoming a topic of discussion before it becomes a result. Less access means fewer opinions, and fewer opinions mean greater freedom to develop. Potential also requires patience, and patience grows in private. Progress is invisible. You learn to rely on discipline rather than applause. You stop measuring success by attention and start measuring it by improvement. Privacy retrains your motivation. Instead of chasing affirmation, you pursue alignment. This internal motivation is stronger, more stable, and more sustainable than external validation. Privacy also prevents premature accountability. When others know your plans too early, their expectations can rush your process. You may feel pressure to meet timelines that are unrealistic or move before you are ready. Privacy allows you to set your own pace. It keeps development flexible and responsive rather than rigid and reactive. Growth needs room to breathe. There is power in working quietly. When people do not see your progress, they cannot predict your outcome. Surprise becomes a strategic advantage. While others are distracted by appearances, you are gaining strength in silence. Privacy turns preparation into momentum. When the time comes, results appear suddenly, not because the work was fast, but because it was unseen. Privacy also strengthens identity. You are not constantly explaining yourself. You grow more secure in who you are becoming. You are no longer performing for approval or adjusting to fit expectations. You are building from conviction, not comparison. Privacy reconnects you with authenticity. What grows in private is more likely to be genuine because it was not shaped by external pressure. Potential exposed too early can be distorted. Praise can inflate ego before skill is ready. Criticism can discourage progress before resilience is built. Privacy protects against both. It keeps you grounded while you grow. It allows humility and competence to develop together. This balance is essential for sustainable success. Privacy also reinforces discipline. When no one is watching, consistency becomes a personal responsibility. You show up because of commitment, not recognition. This creates inner strength. Discipline developed in private becomes reliability in public. Others finally see the result. It stands on a foundation that cannot be shaken by opinion. Privacy does not mean isolation. It means selectivity. It means choosing wisely who has access to your vision, your struggles, and your progress. Trusted counsel can refine potential. Uncontrolled exposure can ruin it. Privacy is discernment in action. Every season does not require an announcement. Some seasons require incubation. Privacy honors timing. It understands that revelation is most powerful when it is complete. What is revealed too early must be defended. What is revealed at the right time stands on its own. Ultimately, privacy protects potential by preserving energy, clarity, patience, and authenticity. It allows you to grow before you are seen, to prepare before you perform, and to develop before you deliver. Privacy gives potential the space it needs to become power. Discernment is the ability to see clearly, to recognize truth beneath appearance, to make wise distinctions in a complex world. It is not merely intelligence or experience, it is perception sharpened by awareness. One of the most powerful tools for developing discernment is silence. Silence creates the environment where clarity can breathe. When noise dominates, understanding is delayed. When silence is chosen, discernment is refined. Modern life celebrates constant expression. Opinions are published instantly, reactions are rewarded, and speed is mistaken for insight. Yet discernment is never rushed. It requires space to observe without interruption, to listen without formulating a response, and to reflect without pressure to conclude. Silence provides that space. It removes urgency and replaces it with intentional attention. When you speak less, you hear more. This is not simply about sound, it's about perception. Silence allows you to notice tone, timing, inconsistencies, and patterns. People often reveal more through what they avoid saying than through what they openly declare. Those who rush to speak miss these subtleties. Silence sharpens your ability to read between the lines and recognize the truth hidden in behavior rather than words. Silence also interrupts emotional dominance. Strong emotions can distort judgment, pushing decisions toward impulse rather than wisdom. Anger narrows vision. Fear exaggerates risk. Excitement overlooks consequence. Silence creates a pause between feeling and action. In that pause, emotional intensity settles, allowing discernment to reassert itself. You begin to see situations as they are, not as emotions momentarily color them. Discernment grows when reaction is replaced with response. Reaction is immediate and automatic. Response is deliberate and informed. Silence is what makes response possible. By choosing not to speak immediately, you gather more information. You consider multiple perspectives. You weigh long-term impact instead of short-term relief. This internal processing strengthens the quality of every eventual decision. Silence also protects discernment from manipulation. Many forms of manipulation rely on urgency and noise. Pressure tactics force quick answers. Provocation demands immediate defense. Chaos overwhelms reasoning. Silence dismantles these strategies. When you refuse to rush, you take away the manipulator's advantage. Discernment thrives when time is reclaimed. Listening in silence reveals patterns that conversation often hides. Words can be rehearsed, behavior cannot be sustained indefinitely. Silence allows you to watch actions unfold without interference. Over time, patterns emerge, consistency or contradiction, alignment or deception. Discernment is built by observation over explanation. Silence refines inner alignment. External voices quiet, internal values become louder. You begin to distinguish between what you want and what you have been told to want. Discernment depends on this internal clarity. Without it, decisions are easily influenced by trends, opinions, or pressure. Silence reconnects you with your own convictions, strengthening the foundation upon which wise choices are made. Silence also sharpens spiritual and intuitive awareness. Intuition speaks softly. It is often drowned out by constant information and self-talk. In quiet moments, intuition becomes noticeable. Discernment involves recognizing these subtle insights and evaluating them with wisdom. Silence grants access to this deeper level of perception. With silence comes humility. Speaking less acknowledges that understanding is still forming. This humility keeps discernment open rather than rigid. Those who believe they already know everything stop observing. Silence preserves curiosity. It allows learning to continue. Discernment grows not from certainty, but from teachability. Silence enhances discernment in relationships. When you listen more than you speak, you learn who people consistently are rather than who they claim to be. Silence reveals priorities, boundaries, and motives. Discernment in relationships is less about judging and more about understanding. Quiet observation provides accurate insight without confrontation. In conflict, silence is especially powerful. Heated exchanges cloud reasoning and escalate misunderstanding. Silence interrupts escalation. It gives space for facts to surface and motives to reveal themselves. Discernment functions best when hostility is reduced. Silence lowers volume so truth can be heard. Silence also trains patience, and patience strengthens discernment. Rushed decisions overlook nuance. Patient decisions consider consequences. Silence delays judgment until sufficient insight is gained. This delay is not indecision, it is intelligence in motion. Over time, silence builds a disciplined mind. You become selective with words, intentional with responses, and careful with conclusions. Discernment becomes habitual. You naturally pause, observe, and evaluate before engaging. This habit protects you from error and impulsive regret. Silence does not mean disengagement. It is active awareness. It is listening deeply, thinking critically, and responding wisely. Silence prepares you to speak with clarity when speech is necessary. Words shaped by silence carry precision and weight. Ultimately, silence refines discernment because it creates the conditions where truth can surface without distortion. It removes distraction, quiets emotion, amplifies awareness. In a noisy world, discernment becomes rare. Silence is how it is restored. In a world filled with opinions, promises, constant justification, many people feel compelled to explain themselves at every turn. They explain why they started late, why progress is slow, why things didn't work out, or why they changed direction. But the truth is simple and enduring. Consistency speaks louder than explanation. What you do repeatedly will always carry more authority than what you say occasionally. Behavior sustained over time forms a language that needs no translation. Explanation is often a response to insecurity or pressure. People explain when they feel misunderstood or questioned. While explanation can be useful in certain moments, it becomes counterproductive when it replaces discipline. Words can be crafted to sound convincing. Consistency cannot be faked indefinitely. Over time, actions expose intentions, reveal priorities, and confirm character. Consistency builds credibility without ever having to say a word. Consistency establishes trust. Trust is not formed through single acts or passionate speeches, through reliable patterns. When people see you show up again and again, follow through on commitments, and remain steady despite challenges, confidence in your reliability grows naturally. You do not need to convince others of your integrity when your behavior quietly proves it. Trust accumulates the way interest does, slowly at first, then increasingly powerful. Explanation often focuses on the past, but consistency shapes the future. Explaining drains energy by revisiting what has already occurred. Consistency invests energy into what is still being built. While explanations try to manage perception, consistency produces progress. Progress eventually becomes visible, and once results are evident, explanations become unnecessary. Consistency also simplifies life. When your actions are aligned and predictable in the best sense, fewer questions surround you. People understand your standards because they observe them. They know your values because you live them. They recognize your intentions because your behavior remains steady. Consistency removes confusion. It speaks with clarity and confidence. There is authority in repetition. Anyone can perform well once, but sustained excellence requires discipline. Discipline is what transforms effort into habit. Habit then becomes identity. When consistency shapes identity, you no longer struggle to explain who you are, you embody it. This embodiment carries weight that words cannot match. Consistency also reduces conflict. Many arguments arise not from disagreement, but from inconsistency. When words and actions do not align, doubt enters. When choices fluctuate without explanation, trust erodes. Consistency prevents these fractures by aligning intention with behavior. When alignment is visible, harmony follows naturally. In moments of criticism or doubt, consistency becomes a shield. You do not need to defend yourself against every accusation when your track record stands intact. History becomes your advocate. Patterns protect your reputation more effectively than rebuttals ever could. Silence combined with consistency often resolves doubt more powerfully than debate. Consistency also fosters internal peace. Explaining can feel exhausting because it often arises from trying to control how others perceive you. Consistency shifts your focus inward, toward alignment rather than approval. You begin to act according to your values instead of others' expectations. This alignment reduces inner tension and strengthens self-respect. Growth relies heavily on consistency. Talent creates opportunity, but consistency sustains it. Motivation fluctuates, consistency remains. Even on days when enthusiasm fades, consistent action maintains momentum. Over time, small, consistent efforts accumulate into significant transformation. This transformation needs no explanation because it is visible. Consistency teaches patience. Results may not be immediate, but consistency trusts the process. Explanation often seeks immediate validation. Consistency accepts delayed gratification. This patience is a silent strength. It allows time for improvement, learning, and refinement. When success finally arrives, it is grounded and durable. Consistency also reshapes how others respond to you. People begin to expect excellence, reliability, and follow-through. Expectations rise not because you demanded them, but because you demonstrated capacity. Your standards are understood without discussion. This is leadership without announcement. In relationships, consistency communicates care more deeply than words ever could. Promises mean little without follow-through. Reliability builds safety. When presence, honesty, and effort remain steady, trust deepens naturally. You do not need to declare loyalty when it is demonstrated daily. Consistency becomes legacy. Long after explanations are forgotten, patterns remain. People remember how you showed up over time. They remember reliability, discipline, and integrity. Your life tells a story whether you narrate it or not. Consistency ensures that the story is coherent and honorable. This does not mean you never explain yourself. Explanation has its place. When explanation becomes excessive, it signals imbalance. Consistency restores balance. It allows actions to speak first, words to follow only when necessary. Ultimately, consistency speaks louder because it is undeniable. It cannot be argued away, dismissed, or misunderstood for long. Time amplifies it. Repetition strengthens it. Outcomes confirm it. When you commit to consistency, you free yourself from the burden of constant explanation. You let progress advocate for you. You let discipline define you. And over time, your steady action speaks so clearly that explanation becomes optional. Separation is rarely celebrated, yet it is often the clearest evidence that elevation is taking place. Many people misunderstand separation as loss, rejection, or isolation. In truth, it is frequently preparation. Elevation does not merely change what you have, it changes where you stand and who can reach you. As growth occurs, alignment shifts. What once fit comfortably may no longer belong. This is not backward movement, it is upward motion. Elevation requires weight reduction. One rises, unnecessary attachments become burdensome. Relationships, habits, environments, mindsets that were once suitable can become restrictions at a higher level. Separation is not about superiority. It is about sustainability. What supported you in one season may obstruct you in the next. Elevation forces honest evaluation, and that evaluation inevitably leads to separation. Separation often begins internally before it manifests externally. Values change, priorities realign, tolerance for chaos diminishes. Conversations that once felt meaningful begin to feel repetitive. Entertainment loses its appeal. This internal shift creates distance before any physical distance appears. You begin to feel out of place, not because you are better, because you are different. Growth has altered your orientation. One of the most painful aspects of separation is misunderstanding. When elevation changes you, those who remain in the same place may interpret your growth as arrogance or abandonment. But separation is not a statement against them. It is a commitment to the future you are becoming. Elevation demands trade-offs. You cannot rise without releasing something. Separation is the language of that release. As you elevate, access becomes selective. Not everyone can accompany you into unfamiliar territory. Some people are comfortable with the familiar and resist change. Elevation often requires stepping into discomfort, uncertainty, and responsibility. Unwilling to adjust naturally fall away. Separation occurs not through rejection, but through divergence. Elevation also alters capacity. As responsibilities expand, time becomes more valuable, energy must be conserved, emotional investment must be intentional. Separation protects these limited resources. You cannot maintain the same level of access for everyone as your assignment increases. Separation is how priorities are preserved. In many cases, separation feels lonely at first. Old support systems fade before new ones are formed. This gap can tempt people to retreat, but elevation often requires walking through transitional solitude. This solitude is not emptiness, it is incubation. In separation, clarity forms, identity solidifies, strength develops. Elevation matures you before it rewards you. Separation also reveals authenticity. Familiar validation is removed. You discover whether your motivation is internal or dependent. Elevation demands self-definition. You can no longer rely on group identity to affirm you. Separation pushes you to stand independently, reinforcing conviction and resilience. Elevation brings new vision, and new vision requires distance. You must step back to see clearly. Separation provides perspective. From a higher vantage point, distractions become visible, patterns emerge, and strategy improves. What once felt urgent fades. What truly matters comes into focus. Separation also protects future momentum. Remaining too close to environments that resist growth can erode confidence and dilute focus. Separation eliminates constant friction. It allows you to operate without explanation, compromise, or resistance. Elevation thrives in aligned environments. Importantly, separation is not permanent in every case. It is seasonal. Some connections may be restored later at a healthier level. Others may remain memories, honored but no longer active. Elevation teaches discernment. Not all separation is abandonment, and not all closeness is alignment. Separation also strengthens humility when understood correctly. It reminds you that growth is a responsibility, not a reward. Elevation is not about being above others, it is about being accountable to purpose. Separation is not an excuse for pride, but a call for stewardship. Separation continues. Peace often replaces confusion. What once felt heavy begins to feel lighter. Energy returns, focus sharpens. You recognize that the discomfort of separation was temporary, but benefits of elevation are enduring. Ultimately, separation is a sign that transformation is working. It signals that you are no longer confined to old definitions. It confirms that you are moving forward, even when it feels uncomfortable. Elevation does not leave everything behind, but it always leaves something behind. Energy is one of the most valuable resources you possess. Unlike time, which keeps moving no matter how you feel about it, energy determines how effectively you can use that time. You can have the same 24 hours as everyone else, yet experience completely different results depending on how your energy is managed. To manage your energy well is not selfish, arrogant, dismissive. It is an act of self-respect. Many people underestimate how much energy they give away daily. They spend it explaining themselves, arguing with people who have already decided their opinion, worrying about outcomes they cannot control, and accommodating expectations that drain them. Time exhaustion becomes normalized. Fatigue is worn like a badge of honor. But chronic depletion is not proof of commitment. It is evidence of poor boundaries. Self-respect recognizes that energy must be protected if purpose is to be sustained. Energy management starts with awareness. You must recognize what fuels you and what drains you. Some environments inspire clarity and momentum. Others impose tension and confusion. Some conversations leave you focused. Others leave you fatigued and scattered. Self-respect demands honesty about these patterns. You cannot continue to place yourself in energy-draining situations and expect long-term effectiveness. The clearest signs of self-respect is the ability to say no without guilt. Saying yes to everything comes at a cost. Every unnecessary commitment fragments your attention and depletes your strength. Self-respect understands that declining is not rejection, it is selection. You select what aligns with your capacity and your purpose. This intentional selection preserves energy for what truly matters. Emotional energy is particularly precious. Constant emotional engagement, especially with negativity, conflict, or unresolved tension, can be more exhausting than physical labor. Self-respect refuses to live in constant emotional reaction. It chooses response over reaction, allowing emotions to settle before decisions are made. This restraint protects both clarity and peace. Mental energy must also be stewarded. Overthinking, constant comparison, and rumination consume enormous mental power without producing progress. Respect establishes mental boundaries. It limits exposure to unnecessary noise and distractions. It recognizes that focus requires rest, clarity requires quiet. Protecting mental energy is not avoidance, it is wisdom. Physical energy is another dimension of self-respect. Neglecting rest, nutrition, and recovery weakens the foundation upon which all other energy depends. Discipline without restoration leads to burnout. Respect understands that rest is not laziness, it is maintenance. Sustainable performance requires periods of renewal. Energy management also shapes relationships. Self-respect does not tolerate consistent disrespect, manipulation, or emotional drain. It establishes clear boundaries around access. Not everyone deserves the same level of availability. This does not require confrontation or explanation. Boundaries are often enforced quietly through changed behavior. Self-respect chooses peace over engagement in endless dysfunction. The need to constantly prove yourself is another drain on energy. When self-worth is externalized, energy is spent chasing validation. Self-respect internalizes worth. It frees you from the burden of performance for approval. You begin to invest energy in growth rather than impression. This shift is liberating and empowering. Self-respect also redirects energy toward purpose. When priorities are aligned, energy flows naturally. Resistance diminishes. You stop fighting yourself. Energy wasted on distractions is reclaimed and invested in progress. This alignment creates momentum that feels less forced and more sustainable. Energy management teaches patience. You recognize that not every issue requires immediate attention. Urgency is often a tactic that drains energy. Self-respect slows the pace to protect discernment. You allow time to clarify importance before responding. This measured approach preserves strength for battles that truly matter. Over time, energy management builds credibility with yourself. You begin to trust your own limits, honor your own needs, and respect your own boundaries. This internal consistency strengthens confidence. When you show respect to yourself, as adjust their expectations accordingly, often without a word being spoken, energy management also deepens peace. Chaos often results from unmanaged energy, reacting to everything, engaging in every opinion, carrying every burden. Self-respect chooses simplicity. It releases responsibilities that are not yours to carry. Peace becomes a natural outcome of wise energy stewardship. Ultimately, energy management is self-respect in action. It communicates that your well-being matters, your purpose matters, and your future matters. It is not about doing less, but about doing what aligns. It is not about withdrawal, but about intention. When you manage your energy with respect, operate from strength rather than survival, you move through life with clarity rather than exhaustion. And in honoring your energy, you honor yourself. Healing is not a public performance. It does not thrive under scrutiny or a flow of chaos. True healing is subtle, patient, and intentional. It requires quiet work, the kind of work that happens away from applause, away from judgment, and away from distractions. The process is internal long before it becomes visible externally. Healing is a commitment to yourself, a promise to restore your mind, body, and spirit demands a sacred space in which to do that work. Many people misunderstand healing as something that can be hurried or completed publicly. They believe it can be showcased with motivational words, social media updates, or immediate action. But healing is not instantaneous, it is cumulative. It is made of moments of introspection, acknowledgement, and processing. It is built from consistent, quiet effort that may go unnoticed by the world. The world may see only the results, but those results are forged in silence. Quiet work begins with acknowledgement. You cannot heal what you refuse to recognize. Denial delays recovery. Pretending pain does not exist or pushing forward without pause only buries the problem deeper. Healing requires honesty. It requires you to face the wounds, emotional, mental, and sometimes physical, that have shaped you. This confrontation is often uncomfortable, and it is precisely why it must be done quietly. The quieter the work, the more genuine it becomes. You do not need validation for your pain, nor do you need approval for your process. Reflection is a crucial part of quiet work. Healing requires understanding the root causes of hurt, trauma, or setbacks. It requires asking difficult questions about patterns, choices, and influences. Reflection allows insight to surface. This insight, however, is fragile. Discussing it prematurely or seeking validation can distort perception. Quiet work preserves clarity. It allows thought to be processed fully without the interference of external expectations or opinions. Healing also requires patience. The mind, body, soul each have their own timeline for recovery. Progress is rarely linear. There will be setbacks, moments of doubt, and periods that feel stagnant. Quiet work teaches endurance. It teaches you to show up for yourself consistently, even when immediate results are invisible. The slow accumulation of effort is what leads to profound transformation. Solitude is an essential component of quiet work. In solitude, distractions are minimized and focus can be directed inward. Healing thrives in these moments. It is during quiet reflection that emotional patterns are recognized, negative self-beliefs are confronted, and inner strength is cultivated. Solitude is not loneliness, it is intentional space for growth. Without it, healing can be shallow, reactive, or incomplete. Consistency matters in quiet work. Healing is not a one-time event, it is an ongoing practice. It may involve journaling, meditation, prayer, counseling, or intentional self-care routines. These practices do not need fanfare, and their impact is often invisible in the short term. But over time, their effect is undeniable. The cumulative quiet effort builds resilience, restores balance, and nurtures peace. Boundaries are another key aspect of healing through quiet work. Protecting your space and energy is necessary to prevent interference from people or environments that may trigger old wounds. Healing requires focus. Focus requires boundary enforcement. Saying no to what harms you or drains your energy is not rejection. It is protection. Quiet work respects the sanctity of your recovery. Healing also involves the release of attachment to pain, to resentment, to past mistakes, and sometimes even to people who contributed to your suffering. Letting go is rarely a loud, dramatic event. It is subtle, internal, and continuous. It requires reflection and courage. Quiet work allows you to process emotions fully before they are released, ensuring that release is authentic rather than reactionary. Forgiveness, too often develops in silence. True forgiveness is not always announced or justified. It is cultivated internally, allowing you to reclaim peace from situations or individuals that once held you captive emotionally. Quiet work nurtures forgiveness without pressure to perform it for anyone else. Its power is amplified precisely because it is internal and deliberate. Healing strengthens identity. Through quiet work, you reconnect with who you are beneath the pain. You rediscover values, priorities, truths that may have been overshadowed by trauma, disappointment, or external influence. The quieter the work, the deeper the understanding. In silence, self-awareness grows and clarity emerges about the life you are meant to build. Transformation often surprises others because they see only the outcome, the quiet work behind it. The world tends to notice results, but healing is rarely about appearances. It is about internal stability, emotional intelligence, a spiritual resilience, and mental clarity. Quiet work ensures that when transformation manifests, it is sustainable, authentic, and profound. Healing also improves relationships. When your internal work is complete, your interactions with others change. You respond from stability rather than reaction. You set boundaries naturally. You engage with clarity rather than confusion. Quiet work prepares you to operate in the world not from unresolved pain, but from restored strength. Ultimately, healing requires quiet work because recovery is intimate, personal, and complex. It cannot be rushed, performed, or broadcast without losing its depth. Healing demands patience, reflection, solitude, consistency, and boundaries. It requires you to honor the process, respect your timeline, invest in yourself without expectation of recognition. Those who embrace quiet work in healing discover that peace, resilience, strength are cultivated from within. Over time, the internal work manifests externally, and the healed person emerges whole, grounded, powerful. Not because they announced it, but because they dedicated themselves to the process in silence. Healing is quiet work, and its results are undeniable. Discipline is the foundation of achievement, but focus is what transforms that foundation into a life of significance. Discipline without focus is like raw material without a blueprint. It exists, but its potential remains unrealized. Focus is the compass that guides discipline toward meaningful action. When focus is combined with consistent discipline, It creates momentum that shapes not just a moment, but a destiny. Many people have discipline. They rise early, adhere to routines, work hard, but without focus, their efforts are scattered. They chase multiple goals at once, respond to every distraction, allow circumstances to dictate priorities. Discipline in isolation produces activity, but focus channels that activity into progress. Focus directs effort like a magnifying glass directs sunlight. Energy that is dispersed accomplishes little, but energy that is concentrated creates power, transformation, and acceleration. Focus begins with clarity. You must define the destination before you can direct discipline toward it. Without clarity, is random and progress feels slow or chaotic. Focus requires understanding not only what you want, but why you want it, what it will take to achieve it. This clarity transforms discipline from mere routine into intentional practice. Each action becomes purposeful, each repetition meaningful. Discipline stops being laborious and starts being strategic. Focus also eliminates distraction. Life constantly competes for your attention through people, media, noise, and obligation. Without focus, discipline is eroded by fragmented attention. Focus acts as a filter, allowing you to prioritize what truly matters and ignore what does not. The less energy wasted on the unnecessary, the more energy available to build toward destiny. This selective attention transforms routine effort into extraordinary outcomes over time. Consistency is where focus and discipline intersect. Discipline builds habits, and habits compound over time. Focus ensures that those habits are aligned with long-term vision. Consistent, directed action produces momentum that is nearly unstoppable. Each step taken with intention reinforces the next. Discipline becomes less about willpower and more about automatic, aligned effort. Over time, these incremental steps accumulate into a trajectory that cannot be ignored. Focus sharpens decision-making. Every choice is an opportunity to either advance toward destiny or divert energy into trivial matters. Discipline without focus can follow instructions faithfully but still fail to produce meaningful outcomes because energy is not directed strategically. Focus allows you to discern which actions are essential and which are distractions. In this way, discipline becomes a tool for building the life you envision, not just for maintaining daily structure. Sacrifice becomes sustainable when focus guides discipline. Every journey toward destiny demands choices that require giving up comfort, convenience, or instant gratification. Discipline alone may enforce these sacrifices, but without focus, the purpose behind them can fade, leaving exhaustion and resentment. Focus connects each act of discipline to the larger goal, transforming temporary hardship into meaningful investment. Each denied temptation, each early morning, each extra hour becomes part of a greater story, your destiny in formation. Focus also turns setbacks into lessons. Discipline without reflection may result in repeated mistakes, frustration, or burnout. Focus enables you to analyze, adjust, and refine strategies without losing momentum. It ensures that every challenge is an opportunity for growth rather than a disruption. Destiny is not built in moments of comfort alone. It is forged in the combination of intentional effort and resilient focus. Attention to detail is another way focus amplifies discipline. Small, consistent actions often determine long-term outcomes. Focus allows you to notice subtle shifts, optimize processes, and refine techniques that would otherwise be overlooked. Discipline ensures the repetition, and focus ensures the precision. Together, they create mastery. Mastery is the gateway to influence, opportunity, and lasting impact. Focus also enhances accountability when you know what you are building and why discipline becomes self-reinforcing. You no longer require external pressure to maintain effort. Internal alignment creates intrinsic motivation, where actions are no longer laborious but natural expressions of purpose. Destiny is shaped not by temporary inspiration, but by steady, aligned action over time. Focus empowers patience. Discipline requires patience, but patience is easier to maintain when each effort is consciously aligned with a defined goal. Focus gives meaning to persistence. Without focus, patience can feel like stagnation. With focus, every moment of steady effort contributes to a larger vision, and waiting becomes productive. The delayed results of disciplined work are no longer frustrating, they are inevitable. The integration of focus and discipline also strengthens resilience. Life will inevitably introduce obstacles, distractions, and setbacks. Discipline ensures that you continue even when challenges arise. Focus ensures that your energy is directed towards solutions rather than complaints. The combination allows you to recover faster, adjust more strategically, and continue moving forward with unwavering purpose. Destiny is achieved not by avoiding obstacles, but by persistently navigating them with alignment. Focus turns discipline into identity. Over time, the habits, routines, and choices forged under focus become part of who you are. You stop thinking of discipline as effort and begin to embody it naturally. Identity-aligned action requires less energy to sustain and becomes a reliable foundation for lifelong achievement. Destiny is not merely a goal, it becomes the natural outcome of who you have become through focused discipline. Leadership is another product of this integration. Those who consistently act with focus and discipline attract influence. People trust reliability more than rhetoric. They follow those who demonstrate alignment between intention and action. By mastering focus and discipline, you not only shape your own destiny, but create the capacity to impact others meaningfully. Ultimately, focus is the lever that transforms discipline from obligation into opportunity. Discipline is a tool. Focus is the hand that wields it with precision. When focused discipline is applied consistently, setbacks are minimized, energy is amplified, and potential is realized. Destiny is not a distant dream. It is the result of repeated, purposeful action guided by clarity and alignment. In the end, those who harness focus alongside discipline live differently. Their days are not fragmented by indecision or distraction. Their energy is invested in meaningful pursuits. Their habits compound into excellence. Their setbacks refine rather than derail them. And over time, cumulative effect of focused discipline shapes a life of purpose, impact, and inevitability. Focus turns discipline into destiny because it transforms simple effort into intentional progress, routine into mastery, and patience into achievement. Destiny is not accidental. It is the product of alignment, persistence, and deliberate, focused work. What you do daily with focus and discipline ultimately becomes who you are, and who you are determines the life you are destined to live.